Hello, and thank you everyone for joining to watch today. My name is Daniel Greiller. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here at Weavr. And I'm here today with some friends from across the B2B SaaS and financial technology industry to have what I hope will be an interesting conversation about embedded finance and how it's changing the face of B2B SaaS. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be discussing the so what's of some research that Weavr's done recently with a company called SensorSwipe. The research is called The Next Step for B2B SaaS, Why Embedded Finance has moved up the priority list for UK B2B SaaS platforms. And if you enjoy this conversation, please go to our website to download it. Like I said, I'm joined today by a panel of industry experts to discuss the research, any potential adoption barriers to embedded finance, and the future trend predictions. So I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves. And please, if you'd like to introduce yourself, your company, what you do, starting yourself, Beatrice, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Daniel. Beatrice Bouju. I'm based in London. I lead the corporation's payments product proposition for Outpace. Outpace is part of the Amadeus Group. Outpace is the fintech within the Amadeus Group. We focus principally on propositions for travel merchants, such as payment orchestrations for airlines and for hotels, as well as B2B payments for travel agents. We processed about 160 billion in dollars in 2023, and I think our motto fits right in with the aim of this podcast. We're looking at travel simply paid.
Brilliant. Thank you, Beatrice. Really appreciate that. And thank you for joining today. Luciano, would you like to go next, please?
Hi, Luciano Nonnis, based in Cyprus, co-founder and CEO of Peanuts. We basically build a software which is capable to connect to multiple embedded finance providers, which makes it easier for the user to fulfill all their needs on one platform.
Brilliant. Thank you so much again for joining us, Luciano. And last but certainly not least, Rezaan, would you like to introduce yourself as well, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Rezaan Daniels and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Finvex.io. We help companies to unlock immediate liquidity when they're using our seamless digital invoice financing products. This helps to speed up cash flow and to fuel growth. Our aim is to empower high growth technology and SMEs to customize financial solutions that are designed to bridge their funding gaps and to drive success.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rezaan. And again, thank you everyone for joining today. So I'm going to move into the question portion of today's session. The questions are all going to be based upon the research that Weavr recently did. One of the most interesting pieces was about the high adoption rate of embedded finance. So how do you interpret the fact, Beatrice, that 74% of B2B SaaS product managers have a built-in payment wallet on their roadmap for 2024 and 2025? Is this shocking? Are you in awe? Is it a surprise? Really, how do you kind of interpret that?
We're in awe, but we're not surprised in that our research very much tallies what you mentioned around the 74%. We conduct surveys on an annual basis with our population of stakeholders. So a lot of the travel and technology companies, merchants involved in the ecosystem, and everyone seems to be converging towards the placing more emphasis on technology as part of the integration of the payments in the in a customer journey. If you look at the cost of customer acquisition, the choice that's in the market, the difficulty for a merchant to attract the customer, the acceptance is really critical. You don't want to lose the customer at the time of payment. You want the payment to be as seamless as possible once the customer has opted for a service. And this is exactly what embedded payments and embedded finance achieve. So for us in travel, embedded payments and embedded finance is absolutely critical.
Love it, Beatrice. Guys, anything else?
Rezaan, you want to start?
No, go for it, Luciano.
All right. I think as an owner of a company who's pretty much looking forward to create a seamless ecosystem for my client, I can only say that Beatrice is right on the spot there. Like keeping your client in your ecosystem and making everything as seamless as possible is key. There are great studies on user experience as well. When, for example, you have to leave the page for and go to another page for the checkout, usually trust decreases quite a lot and the bounce rate of the clients increasing quite a lot, and having an overall branding and user experience with a seamless flow increases customer satisfaction and success quite a lot. So there were some integrations with iframes, but true integrations from tip to toe are nearly irreplaceable in terms of client success and keeping them in your ecosystem. And then the second part for sure is also the increase in revenue due to the fact that you're taking on a big chunk of work for the embedded finance provider who is actually serving you, because you can get rid of, as an embedded finance provider, all the customer acquisition part, the UI, UX component, which takes a lot of effort and time to maintain and to improve. And you leave this up to the client and you're just working on proper compliance, customer feedback, customer support, and client success in terms of the entire legal part, which enhances the user to get a way better pricing on checkout, FX, banking, whatsoever, and increase your revenue tremendously.
Yeah, I think the important piece to highlight is that we don't want the customer to duplicate tasks. So if they do something on one platform, such as making an invoice, we don't want them to then remake the invoice on a different platform. So the embedded piece is key to be able to make that transition and that information available across different platforms.
No, it makes a great deal of sense. And I think it's really interesting because these are experiences that we're all kind of used to in the consumer world. So it kind of sucks when you don't have them in the business world, right? So it's not surprising that business B2B SaaS product managers are looking to add so that they can kind of have the same sort of experience in their product that they all have in their personal lives. So I guess
maybe just before we, it's worth just citing an example of best, deployment of embedded payment in the market, and there, Uber is quite often referred to as one of the best user experiences when it comes to embedded payments. When you go around the world, whether it's the UK or Europe, where you have a very consistent user experience with Uber, or in other countries, South Africa, people tend to use Uber because it's safer than jumping into a taxi who you don't know. In India, because it's easier to explain where you're going if you can pre-select the address of where you're going. The payment is an afterthought. You never really think about the payment. The payment is part of the journey from a driver perspective. The payment is pre-accepted, so there is also an element of confidence on the merchant side that the merchant's going to get paid, and on the user side, you don't need to carry the local currency. You don't need to know where you're going. You just have to. The journey is remarkably smooth wherever you are in the world and whatever language the ride takes place in. And I think that's it's probably, to me, the ultimate in terms of convenience when it comes to payments.
I think, this goes back to the whole point. That's what you're aiming for, right? And it's what we get in our consumer lives. Why are we not getting it in our business lives? I think that's spot on. So another stat from the research was about new user acquisition. Luciano, I'm kind of interested. I think this is a good one for you, based on what you just said about in your product, you want to focus on building a great product so that you can, give that experience to your customers. 23% of product managers believe that embedded finance helps to attract new customers. This is what the survey says. So when you're looking at all the different features you could add next from a software point of view or from a proposition point of view, how does embedded finance stack up in that regard? When you think about, I want to improve my conversion rate of new users.
So I know the main topic is about software as a service. And I have to apologize because I'm a typical finance guy. So my answer is mainly a little bit finance related. So I'll give you an example. I had a crypto exchange before, and in order to be even competitive in the market, I need to offer a product range where my clients are able to buy, sell, hold, whatever within one environment. Meaning if you need to send them to 3 different vendors in order to create or to satisfy one need, you're most likely going to lose compared. So it's nearly inevitable that product owners get used to the fact that this is irreplaceable and that this number for me is quite shockingly low in terms of the time we are in right now, because flow is key and user experience is also key. We are far away from having, let's say, crippled user experience when we look at examples like Uber, like Amazon, like nearly all big financial and all big fintech providers. So I hope this number increases. I hope the providers are increasing quite a lot, because everyone who wants to stack up in features and ecosystem approach should definitely have a look at banking as a service and payment as a service, lending as a service, etc., etc. And there are good examples like Shopify, for example. What is your client base? You have people who are really strong in e-commerce, selling product. What do they need? Often do they need, in order to increase their volume or increase general business, they need loans, for example, short-term loans on e-commerce. So there are great solutions out there which are offering lending services for e-commerce solely. So why sending the client to a different platform to get a loan to use it in Shopify, for example, in order to do their daily business? Shopify can have a great user experience adding that to their service without increasing back office work like compliance, etc., and using the already verified clients to hand them over to the expert and fulfill this need. So, yeah.
Yeah, Luciano. Luciano, I completely agree with you that there are many non-finance businesses that can really start to ride this wave of embedded finance. And that's where I think a lot of new customer acquisition will come from, because if we can partner with startups, with exciting entrepreneurs that understand a niche marketplace and offer them a new service that they never thought was possible, we see this happening in our business every day. Traditional business or tech businesses that never thought they could bridge this gap to servicing their own clients with financial products can really rely on embedded finance as a cool way for them to bridge this gap.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Beatrice, anything to add? If not, happy to move on, but I don't want to cut you out. Happy to move on. So it's interesting when you talk about not thinking they could bridge the gap, Rezaan. One thing that did come up a few times in the research was that there are different barriers to adoption, right? So it's interesting when Luciano says he expects the number to be higher as well. So the question, I guess, is, despite the high potential that we're all describing, the extra money that can be made, etc., what do you think are the main barriers to the adoption of embedded finance, and how can you overcome those?
Yeah, so we talked about this, and Luciano mentioned that a lot of back office processes that were prohibitive in the past, and especially when we look at the regulatory environment, companies tend to shy away from the financial sector or financial products. So what we can do as embedded finance service providers is to show the legwork that we've done. So I know Weavr's done a lot, and we rely on Weavr's input and work that they've done. And in our business, we took 18 months to get the right regulatory approvals in place to establish a securitization vehicle in Luxembourg, which means that our clients don't have to do this. They can really leverage our skills on reporting, on data management, to get their products to the market quicker. And so I think that's where it's essential that as an embedded finance service provider, we can share those insights and knowledge and skills, and show how we can add compliance and regulatory approval to these new businesses.
So what you're really saying, and Luciano and Beatrice come in as well, is that if you're new to the game, you're looking for partners that have done that legwork, right? You're looking for partners that have solved a lot of those compliance burdens. Beatrice, you're nodding. Luciano, anything to add on the
Yes, tons of stuff. But please stop me if I'm too long. But Beatrice should maybe have okay. I did a crazy research on 1,000 payment institutions and 280 EMIs in Europe. I went through all of them to get a clear outlook on what's going on in the market. I think embedded finance really got from a background of founder's necessity. There are tons of perfectly set up, fully licensed payment institutions, EMIs, credit institutions out there. From a legal perspective, nearly operating worldwide from European Union, but most of them had a hard time to compete against giants like Revolut or other lending services who were market dominant. And I thought, okay, let's use our main expertise, which is compliance, back office work, putting the hard paperwork in place, and create an environment to open up the gates for other marketing channels. I see a clear picture of what's going on within the next couple of years, where fully licensed institutions will mainly focusing on API services, and we will see a widespread of financial services throughout non-financial companies. So, and the only barrier which is left is education. So the work you're doing here with podcasts like this should help people getting away from this, okay, I'm a little bit afraid of financial services due to compliance, but you are taking your clients by hand and teaching them how easy it can be, and that you can fully rely on this licensed institution in the back, and you can solely focus on your main expertise, which is user experience, which is making your user feel super comfortable and creating an environment where things happen way faster. So keep expertise where it should be: financial institution, back office, and compliance, and user experience to companies who are mainly focusing on that.
Completely agree. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, great. So again, when as part of the research, we were very future facing, right? So part of it was future facing, and we talked about strategic importance. And in a world when there's so many buzzwords all the time, right? Whether or not it's AI or blockchain or whatever today's buzzword's going to be. Rezaan, how do you think embedded finance stacks up over the next sort of 3 to 5 years from a strategic point of view in the context of other emerging technologies? AI is the obvious one, but there are others out there. So how do you think it stacks up from a strategic point of view?
So I'd like to look at a very specific example and use case in our business. which is invoice financing. And if we look at the statistics in the market, according to the European Central Bank, it takes on average for a European SME 65.5 days to receive payment for every €1 spent. So we see and we talk about these buzzwords, AI, machine learning, but this is a real pain point. And it's a real pain point that embedded finance models, companies like Weavr, companies on this call, can solve for B2B clients. And when we have innovative solutions that work seamlessly with our clients via APIs, as Luciano said, there's a lot of scope to grow by focusing in on specific pain points.
I completely agree. It's really, the whole point of business is to solve a problem or to create an opportunity, right? So never mind the buzzwords, like what are you actually doing to do that? And hopefully embedded finance does fit that bill. Okay, so we've talked about the fact that it solves a problem, and that's the point. Like, find a place in a tech stack, in a product where it solves a problem, and then embed the finance to solve the problem. Let's look at the future now and maybe make some predictions. So, Beatrice, I'll start with you on this. If you look at the future, potential growth, what new use cases might emerge, what do you see when you look to the future? What do you see in terms of how B2B software businesses can use embedded finance?
I think we lifted the veil on some of what the future looks like in this conversation. To me, payments and AI go very well together. And if you look at how you can combine payments, smart contracts triggered by AI, and optionality, you get to some very sophisticated payment products. I'll give you maybe another example with Hopper and Hopper Technology Services. Hopper has developed a suite of services that offer customers optionality around payments, in that, for example, if you buy a flight and you buy into the Hopper cancel when you want service, which is resold by the airline, you can pretty much cancel a flight at any point you want, right? And the way Hopper manages the service is through a number of different data feeds, and by applying a percentage on trigger. So you get to sophisticated products that suit a customer base and make the product very sticky. If you have a choice between an airline that offers you a purchase which you can cancel pretty much any time, and an airline where you can't cancel, then it might be a good differentiator in the product that you buy. So to me, we're just starting on the AI journey, and in particular as it relates to payments. And the combination of data with payments is going to allow for a much smoother experience. It should also help with fraud, for example, which is a key for a lot of merchants, by enabling to have a better understanding of who the customer making the purchase is, and whether the purchase is legit or not, and what products to propose. Do you want to propose loans, or split payments, or branded credit cards to certain customers? It just helps managing your customer pool.
I completely agree. You often hear embedded finance called kind of contextual finance, right? And what you're saying is more data. AI ultimately is a way of processing all of that data and getting a better outcome. So you're in the right place to be able to offer something quite unique and quite innovative if you're in the flow of the event, right? And that's kind of what you're describing with Hopper, because they've got this information, they can offer this upgrade that other providers aren't able to, because they're right in the middle of it. I think that's I think we'll see more of that for sure. Rezaan and Luciano, anything either of you about future trends?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about creating smarter and faster financial decision making. And once we can use that data, improve it, and put it into these tried and tested financial models, really exciting things can happen.
Completely agree. Anything to add, Luciano?
Yes. I look like my view on the entire thing is a little bit maybe how can I say this? Like I have a very specific view on that. I think embedded finance is forcing the entire industry to change in a way the traditional market exchanges had to change. So it started off with very isolated solutions, which were not even close to have an interoperability. And embedded finance and open APIs are forcing an entire new structure of communicating between any kind of financial institution or SaaS provider or tech company whatsoever, like all businesses online. And this will force the payment system and behind to adapt, meaning faster payments within European Union, faster payments worldwide, interoperability between bank, payment provider, end user, firm. And without the existence of embedded finance, this change wouldn't have happened. Hence the reason why I created a platform which is already working on this interoperability approach, because the ecosystem approach is one, but later on the flow is getting more important as well, because money received on one end is just half of the story. What are you going to do with the funds later on, and how do you convert it, and how fast can you move it within an ecosystem and even further improve? And embedded finance is really forcing the traditional industry to improve quite a lot. So I'm really keen on the future here of API services and streamlined payment services, checkout services, and reporting AML services, and especially customer authentication services throughout Europe. So great journey ahead.
It's interesting because you're describing effectively the next iteration of digitalization of society, right? The whole point is we're all living far more digitally. That and embedded finance means that the finance has to live inside of that digital experience, right? That's the whole point. It's democratization. It's the everyone. And I like what you're saying about the open API piece and the kind of interoperability, because it has to work. If it doesn't work, then and this is effectively what Beatrice and Rezaan were saying earlier. If it doesn't work, you'll go elsewhere, right? That's the thing, because the cost of switching is quite low when you live in a digital world. I also think actually just the point you're making, what Beatrice said about AI for fraud, I think that's huge as well, because what you just described is also scary, right? It's also the opportunity for it to be used badly is huge, right? So you need great technology in order to create the protections. So I think those two things go hand in hand. So we're coming towards the end, and I think it's been really interesting. I've really enjoyed everyone's comments and thoughts. So thank you very much for that. I would like to finish with a kind of opportunity for you to have a parting thought, a takeaway, however you want to think about it. Luciano, anything you want to say that you haven't had an opportunity to say yet?
I said a lot already, so embedded finance, go.
Fantastic. Okay, Rezaan?
Yeah, thank you. I think what an exciting trend for us is, and we've seen it in Portugal with digital invoices becoming the standard as this expands across Europe. That will be really exciting for us. And then that next step of the digital euro, so opening up direct B2B payments will also be a really cool addition to embedded finance marketplace.
Fantastic. Last but certainly not least, Beatrice, anything?
I think there is an area that's ripe for disruptions, and it's cross-border payments, which sit at the heart of travel payments to a great extent, and the ability to make those payments a lot more seamless between countries, between participants in the ecosystem, using some of the latest technology is very exciting, and I think there's quite a bit of business to be done in that space.
I think you're right. That's kind of echoing the point Luciano made, the breaking down of barriers. Luciano, Beatrice, Rezaan, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. To everyone who's watching, again, thank you for taking the time. I know there's lots of things you could do to spend half an hour on. Having spent half an hour listening to this, if you are interested in the research, please go to Weavr's website, find the research, download it, and and feel free to let us know what you think about it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.